Brennan Family Videos Part 2. As kids, when my sister and I were growing up, that's Anthony and Meryl and Brannon. When we were growing up, we spent a lot of time on the South Shore at the beaches, as all Bermudian kids did in those days. It was the kind of thing that it was a great thing to do, and Bermuda's so beautiful. So in the summertime especially, we spent a lot of time at the beach in the summer holidays. And this is my sister. I guess we were probably both around sort of 13, 11. I would have been 13, she would have been 11, or maybe 14 and 12, something like that. I think probably more like 13 and 11. So I was here, obviously, in the summer holidays at home from boarding school in England. I was sent off to boarding school in England to be educated. And my sister did as well. She was also spent a few years away in England and London College of Secretaries. That's my dad. And I guess this was a little bit of a picnic and a barbecue, and now we're at the house that in our teenage days we spent a lot of time at. This is the house that my father bought in Napton Hill. It was called the Checkers, and that's my mother and her sister, as we knew her as Auntie Bunny. She was out visiting from England, and that's our boxer dog. We always seemed to have boxer dogs growing up. Our first dog was actually a Dalmatian, but then our second dog, Bruno, was a boxer, and this was our third boxer dog, Debbie, and then the fourth one was Libby, that I took to Cornell University with me. And now I have another boxer called Charlie, who's with me to this day in 2008. The other little dog running around there was Kylie, who was the pride and joy of my mother's. He was a little Shih Tzu Chinese dog, and he was a bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest. And I can see the girls are sort of holding a cocktail as they're hanging out by the pool. This is a great spot up in Napton Hill, and I really enjoyed living in this house. Lots of fine memories from my parents having a big party for Tom Jones there when Tom was visiting in Bermuda one time, to the Arsenal football team, who were hot after my sister, or one or two of them were, at least Charlie George was in those days. And all sorts of fun times at this house. I say South Shore Bermuda, I say South Shore Bermuda, I say South Shore Bermuda, hey! And laying off there was a good friend of my parents, Ben Braham, and then the girl, the blonde lady there, was she was married to a golf pro that lived in Bermuda at one time, Fraser Memmott. That's another boxer dog. I think that might have been Bruno. The first boxer dog that we ever had. It certainly wasn't Debbie. South Shore Bermuda, I say South Shore Bermuda, I say South Shore Bermuda. It's just beautiful, I say South Shore Bermuda, I say South Shore Bermuda. And of course, back in those days, everybody seemed to like a cigarette. My parents both smoked, as we all did in those days. Thank God we don't anymore. And that's me sitting off with my then girlfriend, Susie. And that was she was my first girlfriend, really, I guess you could say. And my sister was going out with a guy called Ricky, and that was Ricky's sister Gay, right next to her. And then everything swapped around. My sister and Ricky split up, and then Ricky ended up with Susie, and you know, the musical chairs of Bermuda romance was on its merry way. Still on its merry way, I guess. But anyway, that's living on a small island. It happens like that. I'll tell you so. Just dance so. And that's Marilyn, looking very foxy, with her baby oil all over us. But yeah, that's what we used to do in those days. We were so desperate for a nice hot tan, we used to put baby oil on, not realizing it was damaging our skin and ruining us for when we got older. But never mind. We're still here to tell the tale, and this is Marilyn with her boyfriend, John Feldman, that she brought out to Bermuda to introduce the family to, threatening to marry the fella. And she did, which was a good thing. John was a great guy, and I worked with John for a number of years in Bermuda at the 40 Thieves. And they came out to Bermuda for the summer, and And it was great to meet John, and eventually they got married very soon after that. And you'll see some scenes of that coming up in a minute, where they got married in London. Typical English wedding at the London Marylebone Registry Office, where a lot of the pop singers used to get married back in those days, still do. And that was that's John there on the right with lots of hair. I always thought he looked a bit like Ron Wood in those days. He's as skinny as Ron Wood is. And that's Marilyn, of course, who have since had two beautiful children, my niece Nicola Feldman and my nephew Jody. Well done, you two. You brought two wonderful kids into the world. That was a little cruise out in Hamilton Harbour that I guess they all went out on to show John a little bit about what Bermuda was like and some of the settings and sights. That's my father, looking like Charles Atlas. Southampton Princess in the background. And the typical Bermuda sailing that you always see in the harbour in the summertime. And my mother. I'm a talk once more to those happy people. Listen to a calypso band while the season's always nice there. In winter, there's no snow. There's no place like. You still see some of these old boats around in Bermuda to this day. I mean, this video was shot in the late 70s. Which was when John first came to Bermuda. And as I said before, Marilyn and John got married in London, and we were all there. That's Marilyn getting out of the limo with my mother and some of John's relatives there. That's John and Marilyn, having just been married in the Marylebone Registry Office on the Marylebone High Street. And it's John's cousin David. I think his sister's there, that's my dad. And there were quite a few Bermudians. We had the wedding reception was very swanky at the Inn on the Park. There's a little picture of me with my 70s haircut. I would have to say that's what that was. And that's my mother and my Auntie Muriel. John's family there, that was John's mother and grandmother. Now we're off to my graduation, which was, funnily enough, no one can believe this, but I actually am an Ivy League graduate from Cornell Hotel School, class of 1976. And they were great days. Of course, my boarding school days in England were also kind of fun. And I went to Reading University in England for a year and basically flunked out of there, just having a bit of a laugh and not really paying too much attention. But in 1973, I went to Cornell University and really loved it. And I graduated, as I say, in June of '76 with a Bachelor of Science in Hotel Administration. Needless to say, I've never worked in a hotel since. I wasn't particularly enamored with what was going on with the hotels in Bermuda back in those days. Too much nonsense and union troubles and all sorts of strife, and it wasn't for me. But anyway, I graduated from there, and it was proved invaluable in a lot of ways to have having graduated from Cornell and to have had that experience and gone to an Ivy League school. It's always been great for the resume, and I certainly enjoyed my time in Ithaca, New York. When the girls all dance on the floor, they sing out Uncle Joe, give me more. And this was actually graduation day in Shoalcop Stadium, which was where Cornell Big Red football team used to play. So that was everyone filing in on graduation day, and it was a big deal, of course. You know, my parents came and they were thrilled that they got to see their son graduate from university. It was my father's dream to see me educated and with a university degree, and so anyway, good for him, good for me, good all the way around, and great memories, I must say. Got lots of friends in Ithaca still up there. My friends Bill and Toby are still up in Ithaca, and still keep in touch with my Ithaca friends. Well, that's part 2 And stay tuned because part 3 will be coming along soon. Look out for part 3 on YouTube. Brannon Family Videos, part 3.
Hear you sing the gallant song.